Hello, I'm Graham and I hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to this continuation video in a series I've been producing for new users to the Panasonic Lumix FZ300 or 330 camera. Now, I've crafted this series of videos on the premise that there won't be too much information from the technical point of view, so there's not too much jargon and not too much technical information. It just enables you to get to learn the camera without being overburdened by some of the technical aspects. In this video we're going to look at a slight extension to what we learned in the previous video, and then we'll look at using microphones to improve the audio quality of your video productions. Now, if you may remember in the previous video, I said you can record video with the FZ300 just by pressing the red button, and that would immediately take you into recording video with the settings that you had in the record setup menu. Now, it did give you the disadvantage that if you wanted to shoot video and you were in a stills format, say for example you're shooting 4:3 or 3:2, when you press the red button the camera switches to a 16:9 format to give you the widescreen effect. So then you would see a jump from the 4:3 or 3:2 to 16:9 on the screen, so you wouldn't have exactly the same framing that you had when you were shooting stills. So to that avail, I said there was a facility in the custom setup menu to set what's called the record area, and you can set that for stills or you can set it for video. And adjacent to that was the remaining time or remaining images, so you could see how much time you had left in that video clip, or you could see how many stills you had left on the card. If you wanted to automate that, you can set up the C1 or C2 operations, so you could use C1 for your stills and C2 for your videos. Now, the custom modes are available when you turn the top control dial to the C position, and then you can use C1, C2 or C3. So you've got three setups effectively that you can set for different facilities. So we're going to set C1 for our stills production and C2 for our video production. So to do that, we will set up the record area for the stills icon, which is the camera, and we will set the remaining time or images to images. When we've done that, we just need to go back to the custom setup menu and select custom set memory and select C1 and press set, and that will save those values into the C1 memory. We then go back into the custom setup menu again, go back to the record area and set that to video, and go to the record time or images and set that to time. Once we set the two parameters of the record area and the remaining time or images indicator, we'll go back and do the custom set memory, and we'll change that to C2. So once we've got C2, overwrite the previous settings, say yes, and then we can overwrite the C2 settings with the setup for our video. So now we have the quick option of going into shooting stills by turning the top control dial to the C position and then selecting C1 from the memory, or if you wanted to use it for video productions, when we press the red button you use the C2 from the setups. Now, there is another video centric menu operation we can set up, and that gives you the facility of showing you what's in focus on the image, and it's called peaking, and you'll find it on page 4 of 9 in the custom setup. When you go into the peaking mode, first of all you set the operation, and you can set the detection level to high or low, and you can set the display color from cyan, yellow, green, pink or white. So it depends on the color of your subject or your background that you want to see that in focus. So if you select white, you'll find you'll get a white outside edge on all the areas that are in focus, and it's particularly useful if you're going to be shooting in manual, which most people do if they're shooting video. So by using that peaking control in conjunction with the side focus wheel, you'll be able to see exactly when your subject is directly in focus. So those are two operations you might want to set up in your FZ300 330 to enable you to shoot better video. It gives you a quick access to either the stills or video mode if you predominantly want to shoot from the red button, or you can see the peaking when you're in manual focus. Now I'd like to talk about recording audio with this camera. The internal microphones are okay for just capturing the ambient sounds and giving you an audio track in your video, but if you want really good audio you mustn't use external microphones. At the moment I'm using an Audio-Technica lapel microphone, or lavalier microphone as it's usually called, and it's the ATR 3350. Now I have reviewed this in the past on the channel, so you might want to look that up if you want a more detailed review of the Audio-Technica ATR 3350. But you can see I've got it mounted just under my mouth on my shirt collar, and that's about the usual distance for these microphones. So you would plug the Audio-Technica into the 3.5mm audio input socket on the side of the camera, and then we will set the audio levels on the camera. Now the camera can set up automatic recording. It's got an audio limiter, so you can't go into extended overload, but it's better to set up the camera with the audio limiter off and then use the manual level control to set the levels correctly on the back of the camera. Now you can see on the camera now the peaking level that you'd normally set up when you're recording video. It's about 2 bars from the top, and you don't want to be going into the red zone. Now I'm going to switch over to this studio condenser microphone, very cheaply available. They're about £20 at the moment on Amazon UK. It's the BM800. They're a condenser microphone, so you do really need to use phantom power to provide enough power to drive these, but they do give you a XLR to 3.5mm connection cable, and you can plug that into the 3.5mm input socket of the camera, and there's just enough voltage to drive these, but not as efficiently as if you were to use phantom power. So this is the actual unit. It's mounted on a stand here on the desktop, again using it at about 8 to 10 inches away to give you nice close proximity, and you don't get the ambient sound from a live room such as my studio here. So I'll switch over to this microphone and you can hear the difference in audio quality. Now I am recording the audio now from the BM800 microphone. To provide that phantom power of 48 volts for the microphone, I'm using the Saramonic SmartRig Plus preamplifier. Now the SmartRig Plus has 2 inputs, and you can either use XLR, 1/4 inch or 3.5mm inputs on the 2 inputs, and have individual level control. Or you can use the straightforward Saramonic SmartRig, which has just got 1 XLR input, and it's designed to output to a smartphone. But there was a modification on YouTube by Caleb Pike, how to convert this into a unit that you could use on your camera. So I'll put a link to that in video description below. This unit is about £25 in the UK at the moment, compared to just £100 for the SmartRig Plus. Now the next microphone I want to look at is this Boya BY1000, and it's a short shotgun microphone. Again, it's an XLR or 3.5mm connection. This one has got an internal battery to power it, but you can power it from the same SmartRig or SmartRig Plus preamplifiers if you wanted to do that. Now these microphones have a directional pickup which is fairly strong to the front, rejection from either side, but there's a slight rear lobe as well. Now normally you'll see these mounted on top of the camera hot shoe, so the front is pointing towards the subject, trying to pick up the sound directly from the subject. But if there's noise happening behind your subject, this microphone will pick that up as well. And also if there's noise going on behind the camera, the rear lobe of the microphone will also pick that up. So to prevent that happening, if you're going to use this outside, it's better if you can use a boom operator and have them hold the microphone just slightly above the talent but out of shot and pointing down towards the talent, keeping the distance to about 18 inches if you can keep that out of shot. By that way you're going to pick up the sound directly from your talent, nothing will be reflected back from the ground, and hopefully nothing from the sky unless you've got someone doing a loop-de-loop in their aeroplane. So that's the best position for these microphones when you're outside, to try and keep the audio quality to the best you can. So that's the BY1000, and I'll switch over to that next. So I've now switched over to this Boya BY1000 microphone. Again, it's an electret condenser microphone. It's being phantom powered from the Saramonic SmartRig unit, so I can control the levels. The idea of this preamplifier is so you can actually turn down the camera gain to -12, and then you can boost the microphone input so you can actually get better audio from the microphone. You don't get as much noise from the camera preamplifiers, as they tend to be the most noisiest components in the system. So this is the Boya BY1000. If you're going to use it outside, you would normally use something like this wind muff, which would slide over the microphone, and this fur fabric breaks down the wind so you don't get that howling or blustery effect if you're outside using the microphone. So it's better to fit the windshield if you're outside to eliminate that. You don't want the audio being interfered with by the sound of the wind going through the microphone. Again, close proximity, about 18 inches away to get the best response. If you take the microphone too far back, it will pick up the ambient noise because you're going to have to raise the levels of the microphone gain, and you will pick up the sounds of the room, the reverberations from the walls and furniture, which would add to the effect. I'll demonstrate that next. I'm going to move the microphone further back and hear the effect of the room has on the audio recording. Now I've moved the microphone back to the camera position, which is about 1.5 meters away. I've had to increase the levels of the microphone so that the level display is again 2 divisions from the top, and you can tell now that we're using the microphone at a greater distance because the sound has now become a bit more live. You can get now the effect of the room being picked up by the microphone. So it's important to try and then use the microphone as close to your talent as you possibly can. I'm now going to switch over to this Sennheiser K2 microphone. It's a slightly old microphone, but nevertheless it still gives good audio quality. So I'm going to mount this at the same position that we had the BY1000, and you can see the audio quality from this type of microphone. So I've now switched over to the Sennheiser K2. You can just see it just slightly in shot, the top left hand side of the screen. Now normally you have that out of shot, so that would be about another inch higher, but I wanted to give you an idea of the placement. So it's about 45 degrees to me and 45 degrees up, and this is the ideal position that you can have the microphone on a boom arm with a wind muff outside to be able to capture good audio without capturing any noise from behind the camera or behind your talent. And again, using a wind muff to cut down on any external wind noise that might be happening when you're trying to record your audio. Now, the next system I want to look at is a wireless lavalier microphone. Now, we've looked at the wired system, which was the Audio-Technica ATR 3350. That's got about 5 meters of cable on, so that might be sufficient for your interviewing technique or whatever, but it does have the disadvantage that it's wired back to the camera. Now in the past I've gone to answer the phone and forgot that I've been wired up, and it's pulled the camera over. So be aware, if you've got a wired system, you must take some precaution not to pull your camera over, or at least pull the cable out from the 3.5mm socket on the side of the camera. So a wireless system overcomes those disadvantages. So I've got 2 systems to have a look at. The first one is the Samsung Airline system. It's about £100 in the UK. You've got the receiver, which is a UHF receiver, and a transmitter with a lavalier microphone, which, like the wired one, you clip to your shirt collar. Now the UHF system gives you far less radio interference than you get with some of the VHF lavalier microphones that I've seen on the market, or even some of the handheld condenser microphones. You do tend to pick up some VHF radio transmissions when you're trying to record audio, so they're not ideal for getting good audio. So it's better to go for a UHF system like this one. Again, this system has a cold shoe mount, so you can mount this on top of the camera, plug that directly into the 3.5mm input, and then you can just power the transmitter and receiver up, and you'll get perfect audio from this device. So I'll switch over to the Samsung Airline system, and you can hear the quality from that. But then I'll switch over to a much more expensive system, the Sennheiser W100 system. So it's a much bigger transmitter and body pack. So this is the size compared to the Samsung Airline, but you are getting the quality out of these devices. Now these are quite old, these devices. The new Sennheiser units are about half this size and a lot lighter, so they've improved in the efficiency of the transmitter receivers and managed to get the form factors down from this larger size. So I'll use the Samsung Airline first, and then we'll switch over to the Sennheiser, and you can have a look at the difference in audio quality. So this is the Samsung Airline system. Got the transmitter here, and I've got the lapel mic on my shirt collar, just as we had with the Audio-Technica ATR 3350. The output from this device is quite low. I've had to boost the mic input levels of the camera to enable me to get sufficient recording level. So that probably brings up a little bit more noise from this system. In contrast to that, I'm going to switch over to the Sennheiser W100 system, and that's a much better audio than you're getting with this Samsung Airline. So I'll switch over to the Sennheiser, and you'll be able to see that difference. So this is the Sennheiser W100. This is the body pack, which would normally wear on your trouser belt or behind you. And you can see I've got the wireless lavalier microphone just fitted at the same distance as we have the ATR 3350 or the Samson Airline system. So those are the microphones directly input to the camera. Now the next facility I want to look at is to use an external audio recorder. If you have an audio recorder, this is a Tascam DR40, but you can actually use your iPhone or any of the Android smartphones where you can record notes. The idea is you can use this again as a microphone, if you like, close to your subject's mouth to give you the best audio quality. But then you will import that audio track into your video editor, use the camera audio track to align the audio from your camera to the audio from your device, and then you can actually get perfect lip sync. Once you've done that, you can actually delete the camera track and then lock the audio track from the external device to the camera video, so you've got perfect sync throughout the video. Then you can do your normal editing. So these are useful if you haven't got the facility of a good audio external microphone. Keep these again close to your talent so you can use them to gather good audio. Right, I've turned on the Tascam recorder. It uses a SD card to record the audio. So I'm going to keep it about the same distance as you would with a microphone, about a foot to 18 inches away, and I'll record some audio with it. So now we're recording audio on the Tascam TR40 audio recorder. Normally you have some device to give you a synchronization, so you can either clap your hands or have a clapperboard so you can see when you've got the correct synchronization between the audio and video in your recording. But if you've got the camera audio as well, you can actually use the peaks and troughs in the camera audio and line those up with the tracks from the TR40 or your microphone, and then you can actually see when you've got perfect alignment. Once you've done that, you can delete your camera track and you can then lock the audio track from your external device to the camera video track and just edit it as normal. So this is the audio from the Tascam TR40. So I've now seen a variety of microphones to use to give you better audio in an internal environment. Now if you're using the Camera Outdoor to record a video sequence, I found that the wireless lavalier microphone gives me the best options. If you can keep control of the cable and you don't get it snagged up in bushes or rocks or trip over it, then the wired system is the cost-effective way to do it. But if you want to invest in better audio equipment, probably a wireless microphone system is your best solution. So here's some samples I've shot outdoors using the Sennheiser system and the ATR 3350 system, and you can see that the outdoor audio is very acceptable quality from this type of system. Now I've come outside to show you some of the audio capabilities of the FZ300/330 camera. Indoors we could control the acoustic properties of the room to an extent by adding sound deadening or by using special microphones. But outside we're at the mercy of the environment. So if there's a guy practicing his loop-the-loops in the sky there in his airplane, or there's a car running down the hill there, or there's birds twittering, we're at those sort of perils, so we have to find some way of excluding those sounds. Now one of the best ways is to use a close proximity microphone such as this lapel microphone. Now this one is wireless control, but you can get a wired one, and I will be demonstrating that in a couple of minutes. So the idea is that the microphone is fairly close to the mouth, so you can actually improve the signal to noise so that you can actually reduce some of those background noises, and that should be giving us fairly good audio in the setup now. Well, I switched over to the Samson Airline system, and that's the lapel mic that I've got here now. I'm at the same distance to the camera as when I was using the Sennheiser system, but I've had to increase the microphone level to get the levels up to where we were with the Sennheiser. So this is the quality with the Samson Airline. Now the beauty of the wireless microphones is that you're not tethered to the camera, so it means you can actually move around if you need to be in your location. So this is the Bauer BY1000 microphone at a distance of about 1.5 meters from the camera. Got the wind muff fitted, so it should be cutting down any wind noise that's occurring today. These microphones have a forward lobe, so they're picking up the front sound pattern. Slight rear lobe to these microphones, so if there's any noise going on behind the microphone, they're likely to include that. But the great danger is that the microphone will actually see behind me, so if there's any noise occurring in the background, the microphone's likely to pick up as well. So again, it's being as closest to the camera as you can, getting the sound levels right so you're not trying to pick up the noise that's happening behind the camera. So there we are, that's recording audio with the Panasonic Lumix FZ300 330. Now this video was going to include some tips on lighting to give you better creative lighting, but again the length of this video is going to make it too long, so I'm going to make that part 3 of this series. So I hope you'll find that as useful as part 1 and part 2 have been. So if you're a new viewer to the channel, please do click that subscribe button, click the bell icon in your YouTube subscription list there, and you'll get notification when I do upload the next video in this series. So as usual, thanks very much for watching, please do take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. So goodbye for now.